the end of the day, it's a shark movie. I want to see some fun kills, and we do get that.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I'm James.
And this week we're talking Shudder's brand new original film, Beast of War.
Show me back.
It's a new year, and it's a new year full of shark movies, and we're not even at summer, and we already got a shark movie on Shudder. This movie, Beast of War, is about a group of young soldiers fresh out of boot camp who find themselves stranded on a raft in the middle of the ocean after their ship is sunk by the enemy and must battle for their lives against a giant, hungry, great white shark. Ooh, scary. So for those who don't know, like we all know Jaws, the best shark movie of all time. It's a movie we all remember. And one of the best sequences is Quint, played by Robert Shaw, I believe, gives that amazing monologue about him being on the Minneapolis in World War II, that going down and sharks attacking them. And this movie kind of takes that story and put it into a 90-minute movie. Does it hold up? Does it live up to that title of being like a Jaws kind of spin-off, even though it's not actually related? What are your thoughts, Blaise, coming out of it?
So this is a film that feels like it's done with, I would say, a moderately lower budget, but it's perfect for Shudder in that sense, and it feels very constrained. I know we talked last week about the rip being kind of constrained to one location. This is kind of similar. There's a couple locations in this movie, but the final location is pretty much where the majority of the movie takes place. And it feels like this is like a good screenwriting exercise, as well as also like a good showcase on the practical effects, because they definitely went the practical effects route for this movie, where they could have gone, and most shark movies actually go the more Shark Night aspect, where it's like
yeah.
all CGI sharks, or there's a bunch of shark movies basically that go the more CGI Deep Blue Sea aspect, and this, you know, tried to go that traditional Jaws route with practical effects, and they even had a shark that was named after, I think, Bruce. But yeah, I felt like this movie really tackled that shark movie in a more practical way and a more interesting way, because it does take place during World War II. It's kind of a World War II movie, but it is about this shark attack. I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was kind of a little sleeper pick here for January. What'd you think of the movie?
Yeah, I had a blast with this movie. It's not going to be a movie I remember year round or going forward, but everyone always craves a shark movie here and there, and there's so many far and few between that are like actually good. Like there's ones like this one's serviceable. Like there's movies like The Reef or Deep Blue Sea where they're not necessarily like great movies, but there's still a lot of good reasons to watch those movies, I guess you could say. This one, I'd actually put a little bit above the pack. Like it's not the best in terms of acting. It's not the best written characters. But you know, this movie gets done what it promises to set out. And I remember this movie getting announced a long time ago, just because the director of this movie isn't necessarily a big director, but I know he's done a lot of like cult classic movies like the Wormwood movies, and I think a couple other horror films that have been on Shudder as well too. Yeah, I remember when this movie originally got announced, they were hyping it up as being like, this movie is gonna be about the story that Hooper talked about in Jaws, and we're gonna use a practical shark. And they deliver with the practical shark. Like, you know, like they only use kind of the same shot and angle of the shark throughout the movie. But when you have a shark that looks that menacing though, it works well in its favor. Like there's a lot of long takes, dream sequences of just the shark coming out in a crazy looking sunset. And I was just like, damn, like, you know, they're not like doing a jump scare, but this is making me feel uneasy. I don't know what that phobia is where people are scared of like animatronics underwater or whatever, but like I could see this movie being a nightmare for those kind of people who struggle with that phobia. Yeah, it works well with what it does. It's like, you know, it's not the best written characters. I think like a better writer could have made this movie a little bit better, but what it does is just gives you a solid 90-minute Shudder movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, and that's the thing, is like Shudder comes out with a new movie, it feels like, honestly, every week. And some of them can get a bit samey, but for the most part, a movie about a shark, they've had a couple, but it does feel like there's only maybe 2 or 3 a year, you know, and one of them's usually a Shudder original. It feels like this was different than the other Shudder originals that come out throughout the year. But that is one thing I will say, if you're looking for a streaming service that's different than the rest, obviously it's Shudder because it's genre movies, but I feel like they deliver on what none of the other streaming services do, where it's like they constantly have at least a new movie, you know, besides all the older movies that will get, you know, new contracts, and they'll be showing older movies. Like, they will release a new movie pretty much every week, or at least a couple times a month, to where it feels like there's something fresh constantly to be watching on the service. I would say that this one really stands out compared to some of the other movies, and also like the other shark movies. Like, there's always these weird shark movies that pop up that are heavy on CGI, and something in this day and age is people love practical effects. They love seeing, you know, the artistry behind that, and the grotesqueness, and it looks more real. So seeing a movie that kind of really capitalized on that, like this, and also being kind of a period piece in a way too, because it's a World War II movie, was different and really made this one stand out. I didn't even honestly think about the connection to Jaws that this movie was probably pitched on, that you mentioned, until you mention it now. I'm like, yeah, 100% that was the pitch for this movie, and I think it worked really well.
I was always bummed because, like, not that, like, we used to do the show called Sequeled, or the movie, where we would just kind of do our pitches for movies if we were hired by Hollywood, by a big studio or something. And I always thought, like, it's inevitable Jaws is going to get remade. No, I don't want that movie to get remade. I think it's perfect, but, you know, I always said if they are ever going to remake it, the way to go, I would say, is actually just kind of do a weird, like, not the requel, but like I guess it would be like, I mean, technically a prequel where you use Hooper, a young Hooper, and him surviving against a shark during World War II. I always thought that would have been a great backdrop, and here we are getting a movie. And what's cool is, like, you know, it's not a story that's like owned by anyone, so anyone had the right to take advantage and make like a semi kind of prequel to Jaws, but just without actually using the character names and stuff too. And, like, you know, my only problem with this movie is, like, none of the characters are really cared for. At the end of the day, it's a shark movie. I want to see some fun kills, and we do get that. And there is some unnecessary turmoil. Like, you guys are all in this together, and, like, there's still some, like, I'm the big dog out of us, like, macho man amongst the group too. But for the most part, when they're all, like, stranded, they all kind of come together, but there is still some of that turmoil. Like, I didn't really need that, but I get that the movie needs some drama to last it for 90 minutes. But yeah, like, it, like, you know, might not have the best characters, but solid story. And, like, you know, when you want a shark movie, this delivers on what you get, the sharks.
Yeah, I think when someone's looking for a shark movie, they pretty much just want practical effects, it feels like, and that's few and far between. And I will say, this movie does deliver on the shark because it's practicals, but I do kind of wish there was a little more shark in the movie.
Yeah,
because the thing that a lot of those CG movies deliver with that is there's like a lot of sharks, or a lot of shark. Like, what was the movie we watched a couple years back on Netflix that was just one of the stupidest movies ever, but it was highly entertaining, about sharks in Paris?
Oh yeah, that was literally just like it might have been 2 years. It felt like it was last year, but it was like Under Paris, something like that. Yeah,
and it was like sharks in the catacombs, and that was basically delivering on the other aspect of that, just like constant shark like combat, I feel like, or action scenes, where this, like, when it's there, it's extremely effective, and more effective than some of the other shark movies we've seen, but it is a little bit few and far between. I think they do have the ability of having that great backdrop, like the World War II setting. There's great props and period piece costumes and everything in this movie that do give it that extra hit for, like, making the budget look a little bit bigger, and they effectively use that small location. Like, this feels like it was just shot on a small soundstage that was like one of those water sound stages, and they just had like a small set, but they really utilize it to where it never feels like a cheap movie that's just shot on a soundstage. Like, it actually feels like there's open water and there's a shark that's kind of menacingly trying to hunt them.
Yeah, it gets the job done, like, to where this could be adapted into like a live action play technically if they really wanted to. And that's when, like, you can tell if there is like a really well written script in terms of just like knowing what you have and not trying to do too much with it too, because they could have did a whole lot more and stuff too, but like, you know, they utilized their budget without making it look cheap whatsoever too. And we live in a day and age where, you know, CGI has come a long way. Like, there's bad Sci-Fi Channel CGI, but you can be a bad like sci-fi original movie and have even better CGI now, just because so many people are able to do that, especially with AI. But this movie still doesn't go that route. Like, there is 2 sequences, I think, where they use special effects, and the shark did not look too great in those sequences. But, you know, that's not what this movie focused on too. Whereas a movie like Shark Night 3D or some of the other shark movies that we've gotten over recent years, where it's just like, oh, that looks terrible and stuff too. Like, this movie knows what it is, and it does what it does pretty well. And that's why I'd recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you have Shudder, like I said, if you look into getting it, if you're looking for a different streaming service, that will kind of fill that need. But yeah, I feel like this is one of the standouts, especially for January. I feel like the streamers have really been out. Even in the theaters, a lot of the movies have been fairly decent. I mean, we just talked about The Bone Temple recently, and that was a heavy hitter. But it feels like January is kind of turning around and not being the month that people dump things that suck, but maybe there's people are still not going out to see the things that are actually good and being dropped in January.
Right. Yeah. Sad. Yep. Still going to bring up 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Nobody's seen that, but this is about, you know, Beast of War though. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of ways to watch it. It's a Shudder original, but I've noticed a lot of Shudder movies. If you have AMC Plus, like, it'll be on there. Sometimes they make their way onto Hulu, and they also have a deal with Hoopla. Like, every time I sign into Hoopla, I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of Shudder originals on here. So, you know, whether you want to do it that way, watch it through one of the streaming apps, or rent it through Amazon, we have an affiliate link to help, you know, support the show. So yeah, after you watch it, leave a comment down below. Another great way to help support it. But check it out through our Amazon affiliate link, or stream it through one of the many apps it'll probably be on.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell for all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, you can catch all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, also our own personal letterbox accounts. That'll be it for this week. Tune in next week for a brand new video.